a cluster. I can't say that on YouTube, can I? There's got to be a better way to start these videos. As we were growing up, we hated the word accountability. You're accountable, you're accountable, you're accountable. It sounded like it was a derogatory term. It sounded like you're in trouble. Hi, I'm Eric with Leadership Developed. To continue our month of the leader's mindset, we're going to talk about accountability and how you actually, as a leader, can make it more productive than destructive. While I have your attention, hey, do me a favor. Hey, please hit that like button. Also, hit subscribe. Help YouTube understand that this needs to go out to other growing leaders. So we talked about accountability as being a productive term, not a destructive term. To start off, we have to establish the boundaries. In doing so, we're going to use a statement that I love to use, and I took this from Extreme Ownership, is it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. It's something that I grew up with in the Marine Corps. Most successful military leaders have grown up with in their services. It's because you create the culture of that you demand from your people. How does that work? For me, it was simple. I got a call sign landmine. There's a reason for that. It wasn't because I was a total jerk. It was just there was a limit to my tolerance. See, I used to preach that it's 100% patience and 50% tolerance. But then when I found out in that 50% tolerance, that was where my trouble was happening. That's where people were pushing the limits of what they can get away with. And in doing so, it created a culture creep, creeping away from what I wanted my organization to hold the standard to. Our core values: fix and fly aircraft, stay out of trouble, don't add or subtract from the population. But these were the things that were important for my organization to be successful. It was discipline. It wasn't about staying within the boundaries. It was always hitting the best that you can at all times. I had a commanding officer who always talked about aim, center, mass. I don't want you to be restricted by the perimeter. I want you to hit the center of that target every time. And I took that philosophy and I ran with that philosophy within my department. And in doing so, we were able to have a successful year in which I didn't get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, so-and-so's in jail. So-and-so ran away. I had a whole year of people staying out of trouble, and it was amazing. It was wonderful. How did that success happen? Why is that successful to me? Well, when you're a military leader, you have the responsibility of reporting your resources. And your resources are people, aircraft, and equipment. And so if something's broken on your equipment, you have to report. You submit a report. If your aircraft aren't operating, you have that in your report. If your people are injured, in jail, or a disciplinary problem, you have to report that all the way up to the commandant. Because you have a culture of accountability in a productive way, you are now creating a culture of trust. I'm sorry, I'm going to use more pilot examples because this is what makes sense to us. This will help you understand where I'm coming from. I, as the pilot, am accountable to my team, which is the air crew, which is my co-pilot, my crew chiefs, and my corpsmen. For a pilot in the airline, same thing. That he or she is responsible to their co-pilot and their flight crew and the passengers. How are you being held accountable? How are you holding your crew accountable? First of all, it starts off in the pre-flight. The pre-flight, you have a brief. They sit down and they talk. Okay, this is what we have to cover. These are our duties. This is our assignments today. This is what we're going to expect to happen. This is what we can expect to happen. Now, let's coordinate our emergency procedures. Who's doing what? We all know what to expect. And trust me, I've been on flights where there was no brief and it was like, not pretty. Let's just say I was happy to land, be on the ground, get out of that cockpit. It was not happy. I was not a happy camper. As the leader of my crew, we're taking off. My co-pilot has the controls. Why? Because that's his job. He doesn't learn. Co-pilot is usually the newer person who needs time on the controls to perfect their skills. I have to allow that younger pilot to have more experiences, more reputations. We talked about that in this previous, about how, you suffer for your art. You put in your 10,000 reps. You get your 500 flight hours so you can sit in this seat. That was an important thing to make sure that we did. So the co-pilots, I held accountable for being on parameters. Hey, get on airspeed, get on altitude. But it wasn't in a demeaning way. It was the tolerance that the FAA has for us is printed pretty precisely, and we talk about this. And my tolerance is tighter than that, because if we go out of it, we're getting a flight violation. So I'm going to tighten up my tolerance. And it's not to be mean. He or she expects it from me, and I expect it from them. If I'm off heading, you're going to let me know. If I miss a radio call, you're going to let me know. We are a team. We have to keep each other accountable to keep ourselves within the parameters that are given to us. Air traffic controllers have told us that we need to fly at this altitude, at this heading, because there's other aircraft out there. You fly in Southern California, there's a lot of dumb shits out there. It's upon us to work as a team to say, all right, we heard we're flying this altitude, this airspeed. We've confirmed with each other we heard the same thing. As we've taken off, okay, so what's our runway? Trust me, runway has two headings. Don't let anybody tell you it's only got one way in, one way out. And I've seen aircraft come at each other before. You confirm with each other, we're going to this runway to that taxiway to hold short or to continue forward. Thing is, we are agreeing that what we've heard in the instructions is confirmed, and then we can execute. Sometimes it happens where I didn't get that. Me neither. And then the guy who's responsible for the radios goes back, hey, say again, understand this. And then if you're right, great. They're going to say, yep, readback's correct. Or if they tell you, nope, they're going to say it again. They want you to be safe too. They're not trying to demean you. They want you to be safe as well. So that's more productive accountability. Now we're in the air, right? I'm asking my crew chiefs to make sure that the safety of the passengers, which is usually some good combat guys ready to go into some action, that they're safe in the back, that they're strapped in, that they're got their weapons strapped to them. Trust me, if I have to make a dynamic turn, those guys are going to be falling all over each other if they're not strapped in properly. They're responsible and accountable to me to make sure that everything behind my seat is all secure, because you don't ever want anything to fall off your aircraft that's not intended to come off the aircraft. Nothing comes off the aircraft without the leader's permission. That's just how the Marine Corps works. They're accountable to me to make sure the passengers are safe. They're accountable to me to make sure that the aircraft is operating correctly back there. They have eyes where I can't see. They let me know that it's clear to turn to that direction, because they can see if there's an obstacle there that I can't see. But they also see the internal operations. They can see the engine. They can see the hydraulic lines. They can see the electrical systems. They can tell me when something doesn't seem right, smell right, look right, feel right. And I do trust them, because we've trained to that. They're accountable to me to let me know, hey, something's back here is not going well. Something's smoking back here. Hey, can we land this thing? I think something's about to catch on fire. And it's happened. We've had to land in the middle of the desert, 20 miles outside friendly lines. And it sucked. But it was the right call, because we do what is right, not what is easy. We're flying, we're getting to our destination. We all agree that this is the destination. Why? Because we're accountable to the passengers who got on this aircraft to go from point A to that destination. We've submitted a flight plan to the air traffic controllers, who understand that my aircraft's coming from this airport to that destination. And I'm accountable to my crew to execute our mission perfectly. We're a team. We're understanding. I need you to hold me accountable, and I'm going to hold you accountable, so we can be considered one of the best teams around. That people will rely upon us. That people will come to us, seek us out, because of our professionalism. So, how does this work for you? Okay, I've done the whole military thing and bored you to death. How does this work for you? So for you, it's a matter of it's creating your culture. How do you make your team trust each other? What rules do you have that create the discipline that you require for your team? How do you hold each other accountable? How do you allow your people to hold you accountable? That's a big thing. If they think it's a fair system in which you're on them about their productive and their performance, then they have to be upon you to be able to say, hey, you didn't do this for us to help create the environment for us to succeed. You didn't give us the resources that we needed to be successful with. And you didn't give us the proper time to complete the project in which we can do this in a proper manner. That's how accountability works, both up and down. It is an element of trust that's created within your team. For you, it's a matter of explaining what you expect. It's also telling them what you are providing for them. And be honest, if you're not providing anything for them, then say it. Let them know what to expect. Expectation management is huge. If you don't have expectation management, you don't have trust. If you don't have accountability, you don't have trust. If you don't have discipline within your team, then you don't have trust. All these things are elements that create into trust. But most of all, the ability to allow people to do what they do best, to have a bad day that does not have any ramifications on the overall performance, and to be able to pick them up and let them know that they can learn from this experience. You're creating trust through vulnerability. As a leader, you're responsible for how accountability works. Accountability can be a productive thing. Accountability does not have to be a destructive thing that brings people down. Yes, we want to hold people accountable. We want good performances. That's what makes us great. That's what makes our organization perform better than others. But it begins with accountability working in both directions. If you have any questions on anything I'm talking about here, let me know in the comments below. If you have better ideas about how you can train or teach your leaders to be successful with accountability, leave it in the comments. Share it with us so we can share with other growing leaders how they can be better, how they can be more effective. I'm Eric with Leadership Developed. Join us tomorrow as we talk about the cliches that I hated hearing as a young Marine. We will talk to you again tomorrow as we continue our month of Leaders Mindset. If you missed yesterday's video, check it out over here. Otherwise, if you want to know what we've been talking about this whole month of February, check out that video right there. Otherwise, you want to subscribe, right there on our logo. Hit that button and I'll help you subscribe.